Charcoal is the best, most amazing media for your orchid. But with all ingredients such as this, there are always the downfalls. And the downfalls could kill your orchid. Let's get into the details about charcoal and why it is the most amazing ingredient. And with this, you can arm yourself against falling into those pitfalls and help you have wonderful, healthy orchids. Welcome to the Nature Company. If this is the kind of information you're interested in, please hit that subscribe button down below and that notification bell to be notified of all our upcoming content so you don't miss out on a thing. So let's have a look into some of those reasons why charcoal is the perfect media for orchids. Well, there's things like the obvious, the things like the drainage, the air gaps, the structure it provides. It's relatively light, but there are some other ones that you don't necessarily see at face value that makes charcoal so wonderful. So let's look at each one step at a time and explain to you more about charcoal. And we'll start off with the first one, the air gaps in charcoal. Charcoal, being irregular sizes and shapes, provides lots of air gaps in and around the media itself. It also keeps its form and shape, so it's not going to degrade and fill in those gaps. It's going to allow those gaps to stay. So even in a really fine charcoal media such as this, we can still see all those air gaps in and around that it's holding, allowing for air movement. And we all know how much orchids love air movement around their roots, since the majority of them are epiphytic anyway. And what do we get? Because we have all these air gaps and we have a hard structure holding them out together, we get good drainage. So again, even with such a fine media, just pouring water in, we see how it pours straight out and drains completely. That's one of the wonderful things about charcoal, is how quick it can allow for that drainage. So those roots can then dry out and we can avoid those soggy messes that we have. But not only does it allow that drainage to happen quickly, it also absorbs between 6 and 16% of its volume in water. So this allows for the moisture content to remain relatively stable inside your media itself. So it's going to allow for that surface to dry off and allow for all those air gaps to be open and vacant, but it will slowly allow that water to be released, keeping the humidity levels in your media up. So it's got good aeration, it's got good drainage, and it holds a little bit of moisture. But along with holding that moisture in like that, it's also going to hold some of those nutrients that you're feeding your plant and allow those to be slowly released. So it's all sounding like a miracle already, but that's not all. It also absorbs toxins. Well, not really absorbs toxins. What it does is it binds the toxins to the surface of the charcoal itself. It does this chemically, so these toxins can no longer affect your orchid. But it's not going to affect those minerals that you want to feed your orchid with. So it's all sounding like win, 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 win here. But you've got to understand, when something drains this quickly, it is going to cause problems for some of your orchids that need to hold that moisture. So things like cattleyas or vandas. So in our big vanda pots like this, throwing in large chunks of charcoal like this is an ideal mix to allow for them to get wet and dry out quickly. But remember, this is light. So if you're looking at a big vanda like this, you're going to have to still weight your pot down so that it doesn't blow out in the wind. So there's that positive and negative. So often you can use stone in with your charcoal and you'll still have all that good air movement and all the good stuff the charcoal can provide with that extra weight you need to keep your pot upright. So with each of these positives that I'm telling you now, you're already noticing that there are some negatives that can creep in if you're not aware of them. Because also when looking at something like lacquer, lacquer is also an excellent media for your orchids, and you'll notice you get the similar sort of drainage, but lacquer has an EC component to it, which allows it to draw water up from the bottom, and that will lift it all the way up to the surface where it is being evaporated from. So lacquer can actually dry out relatively quickly right the way through your media. Also, lacquer can get warm on the surface. This is what causes that evaporation, is that heat on the lacquer itself, and that heat can then start being damaging. Also, when it gets extremely cold, the lacquer is going to be relatively chilly too. Whereas with charcoal, you don't get those same sort of temperature differences in the heat and the cold. It seems to be relatively constant in the ambient temperature that it holds. So this helps with the evaporation from the inside of the pot. It's not going to get too hot on the top, which will then dry out your pot almost instantly. It will keep a constant temperature, which is good for your orchid roots and good for holding moisture and humidity inside the pot itself. So it's not going to dry out quite as quickly as what your lacquer might. And then when it comes to all those organic media that you like to use, the bark and that are also wonderful for drainage and aeration, and they also hold moisture quite well once they are wet. They're certainly not going to dry out as quickly as what your charcoal is going to do. But by mixing charcoal in with your bark, you're going to be amazed at the benefits you're going to get. Not only is it going to be help cleansing that water, like I said, with removing those toxins and producing a nice stable structure that's going to allow for those air gaps, but also it's going to help keep your media from becoming too acidic. It helps maintain more of a neutral pH by neutralizing that acid component. And by doing this, not only is it avoiding your media decomposing too quickly, as in acid environments, decomposition speeds up. It also allows for those nutrients to become or to stay available to the plant, because in highly acidic environments, those nutrients are now not available to the plant any longer. That's another excellent reason for adding charcoal into your media, especially if it's an organic media. Also, the toxins that the decomposition process produces that help speed up the decomposition process are also bound to the charcoal itself chemically, as other toxins are, which helps slow down that decomposition, making your bark last a lot longer as a media. So you're not going to have to repot your orchids as frequently. Now you know why charcoal is the most amazing media for orchids. Sure, using it by itself can be problematic for a large number of orchids, as the drainage is just too quick. It's not allowing the plant to absorb enough moisture, and it will dry out too quickly. But when added in with other media, such as sphagnum moss to help maintain moisture levels, or bark to keep the stability of the bark, or even in with your lacquer mixes to help cleanse your water. All of these just help produce a better media than you would get by just using the single media itself. But like as I said earlier, things like your Cattleyas and Vandas can actually do extremely well in your pure charcoal mix, which allows for that drainage, allows for that air movement around their roots so that they can dry out wonderfully after they've had a good wetting. Also, if you're wanting to ensure that you get that charcoal to absorb as much water as possible, then of course a dunking is going to be needed and not just a watering. You'll just need to dunk it into the water for 5 or so minutes to allow for that charcoal to absorb all that moisture that it can, and then drain it out, which happens really quickly, and set it back into position. So don't forget to use charcoal in your media. And if you're wondering where to get charcoal, there's a link down below for agricultural charcoal that you can use straight with your orchids immediately. And if you're wanting to use lump charcoal for your orchids, we'll be doing a video on that coming up soon. There's just a few little pitfalls that you need to be aware of before you try. And we have some exciting news. Kate from Zimbabwe has become our very first Buy Me a Coffee member, and we'll remember you forever. You broke our virginity. Thank you, Kate. We really appreciate this. This gesture is going to go so far in ensuring our orchids stay the star of the show. Thank you kindly. And I hope you enjoy all that exclusive members only content we have for you there. I hope it goes a long way. And remember, we'll keep updating that site with new information just for you. And for everyone else, don't forget to go check out that Buy Me a Coffee link down below. There's also a lot of extra free bonus content available for you, and you can just go have a snooze around there. Thank you for watching. If you find any of this information helpful, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below, and that notification bell, bing bong, to be notified of all our upcoming content so you don't miss out on a thing. And thank you, Kate.